The keyboard market apocalypse is here, and I'm snatching up boards at bargain basement prices. This is the polycarbonate M0lly from the key company's closing sale. This board, designed by Blind Assassin 111, started as a $450 group buy way back in 2019. My memory is a little fuzzy, which I think is understandable considering this is now 5 years ago, but this keyboard was strongly associated with TKC throughout the storefront's life. I remember wanting it back then, and I think it's a neat memorial piece for only $75 too. The M0lly is meant to be a replica of Apple's M010A, hence the similar name. It's got chunky, beveled bezels and a truly substantial height and angle. It seems to me that it didn't go quite as steep as the original, but that's likely a good change. Even still, this is one of the tallest boards I've used, and if I didn't hover type, I'd be very upset. Another difference to the original is this completely blank badge. You're supposed to get it engraved yourself if you want, but I've never gone on keyboard side quests like that. On the back, there's a brass weight and what looks like a cherry blossom. I'm not sure what the connection is there, and I don't really have any strong feelings about the shape. Again, I've been relatively unplugged from keyboards for a bit, but it seemed like shiny PVD brass is not as common as it used to be. When it's like this, I really like it. In the past, I've seen a fair number of defects on PVD coatings, but this one seems to be in pretty good condition. In any case, I'm kind of a sucker for retro design throwbacks, so I think it's a pretty cool looking board. This guy was B-stock and super cheap, so I didn't really inspect it upon receipt. The brass parts are well finished, but there are a ton of scratches on the front lip. I think that's actually from my foster turned full-time cat, Little Miss Daisy, sitting on it. I tested myself whether fingernails can scratch polycarbonate, and yes, indeed. In any case, at $75, does it even matter if it fits together and works? No complaints. The construction is a top mount with a big ol' weight. Despite being polycarbonate, the brass components gets this to almost 6 pounds. The expectation versus reality for the weight is legit shocking. It's got a daughter board that also provides a spare USB port. I swap boards out pretty often, so this isn't super useful for me, but I hear it's pretty cool for dongles or YubiKeys. This extra connection to the USB shield is something I put in to provide a safe path for any shocks to the plate. You might think that's overkill for a plastic board, but I shocked the plate through the case on my HBCP and broke the PCB. By the way, if any of you are an electrical engineer, could you please let me know if I need to connect to the USB shield or if it's sufficient to connect to the ground plane? The one serious issue I had with the assembly was that when the internal silicone pad was used, the daughterboard cable would get squished and punctured by the switch solder joints, causing a key chatter. I tried wrapping it in heat shrink and adding an insulating layer, but nothing really worked. I think I'll need to carve a better channel into the rubber if I want to use it, but I'm gonna go without it in the meantime. The plate is mounted at 10 points with no consideration for key spacing. My hot take is that it doesn't really matter when you already have other stronger factors like plate material at play. You might feel the mounting points if it was a softer material like polycarbonate, but for stiff setups like these, I find tactiles to be most aligned with my preferences. So I went with the last of my PCB mount KL Pro purples. As expected, it's a super rigid typing experience, but the bump gives me a signal that can help with stopping short of slamming into the plate. I think tactiles with larger bumps or linears with heavier springs, maybe 78 grams, might also be appropriate here. The 60% plus numpad layout is really cool, and I tend to romanticize them. In reality, I use the numpad just like the nav cluster on the TKL. For most people without a data entry job, I assume a layout like this will be the most practical. This might not make the rotation very often, but it's now a small piece of keyboard history. As of writing, TKC's storefront is gone. While they had their problems, I did appreciate them bringing neat options for women in the hobby. My partner was consistently more impressed with their stuff than anybody else's. Keyboard vendors have dropped like flies, and some are exiting more gracefully than others. Some just disappear, some taper their communications, but not many do a regular old closeout sale. TKC wasn't some paragon of vendor quality by any means, but I give them massive props for being able to close their business in a way that doesn't leave hundreds of people holding the bag. As I said, I've been out of it for a while, and there may be plenty of people disgruntled with TKC, but hey, it could be worse. By the way, it's been a while. Believe it or not, I do still have interest in making videos. I think I may venture outside of keyboards though. For keyboard videos, it's gonna be much less rigorous. I think trying to standardize everything kinda ruined the enjoyment for me. I'll just focus on doing what I enjoy and share it as I go.